David here with Figboot on Pens, and it's time for another Q&A. It's been a while since I've had one of these. I've been meaning to get to it sooner, but I've been a bit backed up on reviews that I needed to get to. So you might have noticed I've been putting out a few more reviews than normal. I've been trying to catch up a bit. But soon I should be back to more of my normal schedule of one review a week and then maybe something additional every other week. We'll see if that actually happens, but that's the goal. Well, what have I been up to lately? I think the thing in the pen world that caused the most buzz this week was the launch of the Wancher Dream Pen Kickstarter. This project was very well received by the community, and Wancher blew past their original goal in like 15 minutes or something like that. I've backed the project myself, and I plan on getting one of the red Urushi models. I really like this Akatama Nuri model, but I have a number of other pens with this finish, so I wanted to get something a little bit different. I think the only question is whether or not to get the gold or the rose gold nib. We'll see. I have some time to decide. But I was reading through some of the other reviews, and I thought that Anna Reinert of The Well-Appointed Desk put it very well. She said that something along the lines of when you compare this Urushi to that of, let's say, a Nakia, the Nakia actually equals, we'll say, 100% of what people want in an Urushi pen. Then the Wancher was at about 90%. And when you compare the two pens, the 10% is very clear, but also that 10% comes with many additional hundreds of dollars. So for the price, that 90% was good enough for this pen. Now, I'm kind of paraphrasing there, but that was the gist of her sentiment, and I agreed with that. If you're interested in checking out this project, I'll put a link in the notes below. It was fun to see their project really blow up on Thursday, and I know the folks at Wancher were very happy and very thankful to the community for their support. Something else I've been really excited about lately is Colorverse inks. I like things that have a high cool factor, and Colorverse inks, in my opinion, definitely have that. I'm not going to go too much into the ink now. I'll save it for a review, but it's a brand out of South Korea, and all of their inks are science themed and space themed. They have a few different series with different science themes, but this one here is called Andromeda. It's kind of a space theme. And there's a lot to go over with these inks, but the packaging is just amazing. And I wanted to show you this. Each bottle of ink, or each box of ink, comes with this larger 65 milliliter bottle. And then there is the cutest little thing in the world here, a matching 15 milliliter bottle. In the case of the Andromeda, it's the very same color. But for other inks in their series, you'll actually receive different colors than the larger and smaller bottles. Like they do have one called Schrodinger, and the larger one is called Schrodinger, and the smaller one is called Cat. So any company that makes an ink with a Schrodinger's or Cat reference is okay in my book. Like I said, more to come on Colorverse inks in the near future. Also coming up on Monday the 29th, which is actually tomorrow after recording this, I'll be doing an Instagram Live with Brian Goulet of Goulet Pens on his Instagram channel. I'm looking forward to that. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Okay, I've received a number of questions from you guys, and I've pared it down to 10. So what I'll do is go through these 10 questions, and then at the end, I'm going to finish things up with a mail time segment where I'm going to share some of the things that my viewers have sent me since my last Q&A. So, okay, let's get right to the questions. Cheryl asks, does your career have anything to do with fountain pens? No, it doesn't, Cheryl. I believe I've mentioned this before, but I can't recall how long it's been. But I'm a business data analyst for a company just outside the Fortune 500. I spend most of my days crunching numbers and creating reports and presentations and things along those lines. I'm the guy at work that folks call when no one else knows the answer, or if they need some random piece of data. So while work like this requires a computer more than a fountain pen, I do take a pen every day with me to work because I do take lots of notes and create daily task lists and things like that. If you subscribe to my Instagram feed, I'll typically take a picture of my pen of the day that I brought to work. I try to rotate through my collection a bit. So over time, if you wanted to get a good feeling about half of my collection, then that's a good place to look. I say about half of the collection because I have pens which I keep in my rotation and those that are not in the rotation. And those don't get much use at all. And, I'm trying to get better at letting some of those pens go to better homes. There's a number of pens that I just own to own, if that makes sense. And they really don't get much use. I've been wrestling with how many to actually keep. On one hand, they're just sitting in my drawer, and if that's the case, and they never see the light of day, then why own it? But another part of me says, maybe one day during another review, it'd be nice to have this pen for comparison or reference purposes. So we'll see. I might sell a few pens here in the near future and see how it feels. Okay, next question is for Peter, and he asks, what is your favorite green ink? Now, I'll have to say that as a whole, green inks aren't particularly my favorite, but I do have two I care for a great deal. One is Mont Blanc Irish Green. This is more of a darker green that performs very well in a wide variety of pens. And the other is Diamine Apple Glory. This one's a bit more vibrant and attention-grabbing, but not so much that it makes me feel like I'm writing with a green highlighter or something like that. I do plan on getting back to some ink reviews. I needed to do a review of this Colorverse ink. And as I'd mentioned before, I'd been a bit backed up on pen reviews, but one of my goals for this year was to do some more ink content. Some more reviews and possibly some ink-themed top 10 lists. Okay, next question is from CLB Droid asks, if you were going to give a fountain pen to a friend to get them interested in the hobby, what would that be? There's two that I would choose and they're both TWSBIs. I would say either the Diamond 580 or the Eco. If you're looking to get someone into this hobby, then both of these pens have a lot going for them. First of all, compared to a typical ballpoint pen, they look different. A pen like the Pilot Metro is a great starter pen, but when it's capped, it doesn't look much different than any other ballpoint. Both of these fountain pens are piston fillers, so you can get your friend a bottle of ink to go along with the pen, and they'll learn how to fill their pen from the bottle. Also, I feel that both of these pens have a very high cool factor. The main difference between the two is that the Eco is about half the price of the Diamond 580. So whichever one you choose, maybe it depends on how much you like your friend. But yeah, either of those two would be good gifts to try to lure someone into this hobby. And I'd say that if you feel your friend wouldn't be interested in utilizing a bottle of ink, then, it's tough to go wrong with a Lamy All-Star or a Safari. There's an entire rainbow of colors to choose from for both of these pens. So the chances are there's an All-Star or a Safari in your friend's favorite color. Okay. Next question was from Sarah, and it said, have you ever won a fountain pen giveaway? You know what? I don't believe so. I typically don't enter a lot of contests, mainly because a lot of the time the giveaway is being conducted by a company or a retailer who I'm known as friends or has provided me with items from a review or giveaway in the past. And when it's that case, the retailer has been generous enough to me and I'd feel guilty if I won one of their contests. Now, I will say on a monthly basis, I do attend a pen club meeting here in the area, and Tom, the gentleman who organizes our meeting, typically brings a number of items to him, with him to give away to the group, and usually magazines and ink and other pen-related items. And at one of the last meetings, I won a bottle of Diamine Firestorm Red, and I'm glad I did, because shimmering inks weren't really something that has thrilled me, but it gave me the opportunity to check one out that I hadn't played with before, and I ended up liking it for a couple of different pens. I'm really still not sold on shimmering inks as a whole, and for me, it's not for everyday use, but it was nice. Okay, next question is from Frank, who said, do you find your desire to acquire slowing after a few years? Absolutely. I purchased fewer pens last year than I have in any year since getting involved in this hobby. And this year, I'll probably purchase fewer than last year. When I was first starting out in this hobby, I really didn't know what my tastes were. So I wanted to try out a little bit of everything. But over time, I've really tried a lot of what's out there, whether it be through purchases or testing out pens at shows, and I have a much better idea of whether or not I'll care for a pen prior to purchasing it. I usually have a good idea or not whether it'll be a pen I actually use or if it'll be something I'll just review and it sits in a drawer forever. So I'm much more careful with my purchases, especially since it seems that the average price tag for one of the pens I do purchase has significantly increased from previous years. But there's still some things out there that I will most likely pick up or that I've been thinking about. I have my eye on one of the Pilot Custom Urushi models, but also I'm holding out a bit to see what the Pilot does for their 100th anniversary this year. They might just come out with something amazing that'll be a very special purchase as well. I mentioned before, I have backed the Launcher Kickstarter for one of their Urushi models. I was impressed by the one they sent me for review, and then there's a few other things I have my eye on as well. So I'll see what happens this year. Next question is from Brian. And Brian said that I have limited use of one of my hands. What suggestions would you have in regard to pens which would be simple to fill one-handed? The first one that came to mind for me was the TWSBI VAC 700, or even the VAC Mini, which is a little bit smaller. For vacuum fillers like this, you could easily pull out, I guess I'll have to demonstrate it with one hand, you can easily pull out the piston back here and then activate it with a single hand, like that. Visconti has a number of pens which utilize their power filling system that operates essentially the same. I wanted to see how easy it would be to operate with one hand, and I found it wasn't too bad. Though I thought it might be helpful as well to use almost something like this Penwell, because sometimes it was difficult to twist the pen in the back, or to twist off the piston knob without activating the cap, or without untwisting it from the cap. And it would be helpful in order to pull it back and then be able to unscrew it. And then what you do is you can put it in your ink and fill it up. And then once it's filled up, then you can twist it back and then twist this. So I found it to be very easy. So if you don't already have a VAC 700 or a VAC Mini, that's one that I would recommend to use one-handed. The next question is from Mariner and says, are there other hobbies that you are interested in that remind you of the fountain pen community? Lately I've been trying very hard not to get into watches. I've typically just been a one-watch kind of guy, but I was gifted another watch, and then I won a watch for winning my fantasy football league this year, and then I purchased another watch. So now, just like I choose what pen to take work each day, I have to pick my watch as well. I am tempted to dive deeper into watches, but like I said, I'm trying to resist the temptation. I think the watch community is a lot like the fountain pen community. From the outside, there are people who will never understand. They will think, why are you wearing a $1,000 watch when a $5 Timex tells the very same time just fine? This is just like fountain pens. And while none of my watches is by any means extravagant, a year from now, I don't want to see myself trying to justify purchasing a $5,000 watch, which there are a lot of out there. And it's very easy to delve into that, just like it is for fountain pens. So for now, I am at least successfully resisting, but we'll see how long that lasts. The next question is from, let's see, I'll just spell that out. It's BOKNEG66. And they asked, what is your favorite pen to bring when you are traveling on a plane? In my experience, when I'm flying, there are times when I've had a tough time getting pens to write consistently. The air pressure really messes with a fountain pen at times, especially during takeoff and landing. If your pen is completely full of ink, that can help. But once you get some air in the converter, sometimes it can cause flow issues. I do like to fly with my Visconti Millionaire. The reason for being this is that I can use it as a fountain pen. First of all, this is a very cool pen. If you haven't seen my review on it, it's actually made of marble, which is a very unique material. But If it works as a fountain pen, then that's fine. But if for some reason it's not working, then this pen also comes with a rollerball section. And so what I can do is I can just trade out the section, and now I could use it as a very nice rollerball. It's not a fountain pen, but it's the same barrel and the same body, and a good compromise if my fountain pen is being a little temperamental on the plane. This summer, we're actually going to be taking a trip to China for a couple of weeks, and so I'm going to be on a plane for something like 19 hours each way, and then several flights from within the country. So, my pens better work well on those flights. I'm going to need plenty of things to play around with to pass the time on those flights. The next question is from Gabriel, who says, are there any pen models in particular that you own multiple of, or that you are curating a collection of? No, there's not. Typically, there are two different kinds of collectors. One who wants to acquire all the available models of a specific pen, and those collectors who are more of the mindset that they'd prefer to have one of everything. And I find myself falling into that second category. I can appreciate collectors who have a more focused collection. I have a friend, David, who has one of the top Pilot Vanishing Point collections in the world. Pilot comes out with a large number of limited edition Vanishing Points for stationery and department stores in Japan. So in collecting VPs, there's definitely the thrill of the chase as you try to stay informed and track down all of these limited editions, which can be very unique and very beautiful. I do have 5 Vanishing Points, which is the most of any model of pen in my collection. But like I said, I'm looking to pare that down, so I might be selling a few of those. The next question is from Cynthia, and that Cynthia states that, do you think fountain pens encourage people to write more? I feel it does. I know that I've written more since getting involved in this hobby. I find myself looking for excuses to use my pens, mainly because for me, it makes even writing down a quick note even more enjoyable than using something other than a fountain pen. So I find myself writing more. I did mention earlier that I do use my pens a lot at work. I know it might be more efficient to keep a to-do list or a task list on my computer, but I like writing them down. I typically write down my to-do list for the next day on my Rhodia notepad, and I usually write it at the very end of the day. So going into the next day, I've already determined my priorities. So I like to start off, excuse me, I like to start off the day with a nice clean sheet. So like this is my sheet for Monday, nice and clean. But then typically by the end of the day, the sheet looks something like that. So that's kind of a typical end of the day as compared to a nice clean beginning of the day. That's kind of what I usually do. And then there's kind of something satisfying about actually crossing off a thing from a list as opposed to just marking through it or deleting something. It's deleting something from a computerized list. But that's how I stay organized. And I get to use my pens. So it works for me on both fronts. Okay, for the last segment of this video, I have mail time. First of all, if you care to send me a letter or anything else to my P.O. box, it's listed in the notes below. If you send me a magnet or art or something like that, I'll put it up on the wall behind me. And I do commit that if you write, then I will write back. I haven't always been good at writing letters. Well, not that I can't write a letter, but I haven't been good at actually like writing friends and writing family and things like that. So replying to your letters forces me to do so, and I'm actually enjoying it. So I appreciate your letters. Also, my P.O. box is near my work, and there have been several days when I have had a rough or a stressful day at work, and I will say that finding a letter or a postcard in that box when I check it really makes my day. So I really appreciate it. February is International Correspondence Writing Month, and some folks make an attempt to write a letter a day. I'm not going to try to do that, but if you're doing that, feel free to drop me a line and I'll write you back. Okay, let's take a look at some letters. It's been a while since I've done this, so I have a bunch to show. Let's see. Let me grab all of these. So to begin with, I have a nice letter from a friend, Emil, and I see him on the Pen Addict Slack channel all the time, and he goes by the moniker of Bronikowski, and that he sent a nice letter, but then also he sent along a picture of his hometown in Poland, which looks beautiful. I think a lot of European cities just have a lot more character than some of the cities here in the U.S. And then he also sent along a magnet that was actually sent to him by a friend in South Korea. So this magnet went from South Korea to Poland and then to North Carolina. So it's made its way around. So thanks. Next, I have something. Oh, this is cool. I have something from Erin in New Jersey. Now, take a look at this. First of all, she wrote a very nice letter with some very cool script. And then something else is she wrote a quote from one of my favorite shows, Game of Thrones, and it says, "What is dead may never die, but rises again harder and stronger." How cool is that? I just love that. I think that looks very cool. So thank you very much, Erin. Let's see here. Next up, I received a nice letter from Brian, who lives in Chester, New Jersey. Brian's actually opened up a fountain pen pop-up shop inside a friend's boutique. So if you are in the area, you might want to check him out sometime. It was on Main Street in Chester, New Jersey. 44 Main Street to be precise. So if you're in the area, maybe you should check that out. Let's see here. Then we had a Christmas card from Beth, who had won a giveaway for one of the Bennu pen that I had reviewed. She mentioned that she took the pen to a recent planner group meetup that she has, and everyone there loved it. So I'm glad that the pen found a good home. Let's see. Next we had a Christmas card from Dean. Thank you, Dean. And then I received another letter from Carissa. And Carissa always fancies up her envelopes with a bunch of washi tape. And I think it looks pretty cool. It's actually inspired me to get some. So if you receive a letter from me, it might just have some washi tape on it as well. She has handwriting that is very, very neat. My handwriting isn't the greatest. I fully admit that. And just looking at her writing is just something kind of cool to see. She also included a pin from Wonder Pens. Whenever I've heard a lot of good things about Wonder Pens, and whenever I end up getting to the Toronto area, it's something I'll need to visit. Let's see here. Okay, what's up next? Oh, I had a letter here from Armando. And what Armando included is he also included a couple of magnets. He included a magnet from a Vancouver radio station, News 1130. And also he included a magnet from the Greater Vancouver Regional District reminding you of the lawn sprinkling regulations in the area. I enjoy random things like this. So thank you very much, Armando. Okay, what do we got next? Then we have a letter from Andrew. And Andrew included a little coaster here from the Arkansas Brews Cruise, which is a tour that goes around to all the local breweries. Let's see. And then Mary in Kentucky sent me along this Guinness magnet. Thank you, Mary. And let's see. We had Bill from New Jersey send me this coaster. And it says, "I lick all my pens. Take them at your own risk." So thank you, Bill. Let's see. Rosalind from the Chicago area sent along this magnet from a city by the name of Vigan, Vigan. It's a city in the Philippines. So it's just a nice little magnet there. Let's see here. I received a nice letter from Mr. Carranza in Camarillo, California. And then also a nice letter from Eric, who is in Pennsylvania. Thank you, Eric. As well as a note from a nice little note from Angel, who is in Madera, California. So, okay, almost there. rapid fire postcards to end up things with. We had one from Nick and one from Sarah. And then we had, let's see, then there was one from Jeff. And then there was one from Paul. And then I had a few from Ryan. Where did those go? I had a few from Ryan. Maybe those got... Well, here was the Christmas card from Ryan. There was a few other postcards as well. When I wrote Ryan back, I actually included my writing sample from my top 10 pens video. And I saw that he posted a picture of it on Instagram, which was nice to see. Sometimes I have a bunch of random things that don't necessarily warrant full giveaways. So when I write you back, there's a chance you might receive a little something else in return as well. So thank you to everyone who took the time to write. Like I said, I appreciate it. Okay, I think that's enough for today. I wanted to thank everyone who sent things along. I appreciate it and look forward to hearing from more of you. And I'll try to get to Q&A a little bit more often. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.